So in Moodle for the week of November 4 through November 10, and we've been working on a lot of this anyway, but you've got working with your links and navigation. So you're creating internal and external links. The most important external is your cascading style sheet that you've been working on. Internal links are links to other pages. You might have, and those would be opening within the same tab, basically, if it's, you know, on page to page to page. Anything that's external to your website, kind of like we did with, I don't know, did we go to Dell.com or something like that? But your other, anything that's outside of your website should open in a new target window. So target equals blank. We've created navigation, not probably totally done with our menu bar, navigation bar, but we've got most of that going. So again, the create, modify, copy menu bar and our navigation. Managing your website links, and we can review that again, incorporating Web 2.0 technology. So that was the Facebook link. So we worked with that. And Christy, I tried going to, so if you go to Facebook and then Facebook dot and then your first name dot last name, I couldn't get there either. So we may have to actually browse to.
I'm using my.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And that's probably more appropriate, but it's just weird that we got there once and I still couldn't get there.
I don't think that's to do with my privacy settings.
It could be. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so the Web 2.0 and the web requirements. So if you want to go ahead and click on the web requirements, and we'll go over those really quick. Make those a little bit bigger so you can see it. So meets guidelines, and I think all of you have signed up for the student web server, and there was policies agreed to and such on the student web server, so we've done that already. In good taste, professional quality may not include libelous, pornographic, offensive, violent, or discriminatory material, which you agreed to. It's not also a method to distribute copyrighted materials created by others. Now you are working on something that's copyrighted, but you own it, so you're okay with that. And not plagiarizing others. I guess, you know, I know we are using information from the web. So if you can link to, if you're kind of borrowing, collecting a bunch of stuff, if you can link back to or content, you know, thanks for content from XYZ with a link to them, something that, especially if you're using quite a bit from a specific website. Every page needs to have a disclaimer on it, and it's basically Missoula College at the University of Montana recognizes value, blah, 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 and wherever you see the underlines here, so this whole thing you can copy and paste, and it's, I know that's quite large there, it looks like a lot. You can put it on your footer, so page 1, your footer, and it probably would be okay just on that one. If you want to put it on all of them, that would be fine too. But then link to Missoula College, which I've got the links here, link to the University of Montana here, and then the student server policy page, which is there. So this was years ago. A couple of students used trademarked and copyrighted content, and there's a little specific example of how they worded their additional disclaimer for fair use guidelines. So if you would, you know, feel like you need to do that, then you can use theirs, but replace DC Comics with whatever yours is. I've looked at, I think, all of your topics for your web pages. They're fine. The graphic elements, we talked about those on Thursday. So banner might be your logo. So I guess I'm thinking of that, identifying something at the top that's your company name. Some of you may just have white, you know, plain white background and lettering, something like that. Some may have a cute little logo. Some of you may have a larger banner. So everybody's will be slightly different. You do have navigation elements. Some of you may choose a background for your navigation bar, so you can do that with the unordered list. You could create a cascading style sheet if you want a color behind it, if you want a texture, an image that's textured. So that may be a graphic element that you may choose to add. And then we talked about 2 just regular images that you'll use somewhere. So I think almost every one of you has the images already in place. And if you want to tackle a form, I will give up to 5, so between 1 and 5 points of extra credit if you feel like that's something that you want to do. Now, it can't be a working form. It would be the front end of the form, the boxes, the type, everything that looks just like a form, but with our server, we can't make it work. Posting your website to the student server is additional points, and we'll do that. Again, I might work with you. If we don't have time today, that's okay, but we might do that. But posting and then presenting your report or your website as a report to everybody during finals week. And we've talked about, again, the purpose, awareness of your target audience. There should be a reason why somebody would visit your site. You have kind of a theme, and everything supports your colors, your word style, words, font, graphic elements, design, support that theme. Your text is organized with maybe large headings, H1. For example, subheadings, body size. You maybe are labeling images, putting captions, and also you're using cascading style sheets to format. Focus on key points followed by supportive content, so enable that skim and scan. Web-safe fonts, you'll probably be fine, but remember those Adobe Web Edge fonts that are kind of fun. So that's an online. Everybody has online. That's why they're visiting your website. So those are okay. Use proper letter case. Remember, all uppercase is seen as shouting. Hard to read. Your web topic, page by page, may read, so everybody's will be different. It may read like a conversation. It may answer people's questions. It may help them complete a task. It needs to be easy to navigate and understand. It may be broken by time or by sequence or by task or by people or by the type of information, by questions, by steps. So again, it's goal-oriented. People grab and go with your content. So you'll decide how your content is broken. You may, succinct and appropriate for your audience, whether it's bulleted words and phrases or maybe short descriptive paragraphs that are kind of chunked up. People can read chunks easily. Make sure it's accurate, up-to-date, proofread, credible, so spelling, grammar check. If you're referencing something, please use accurate and current resources. And if you are referencing, you may, again, link back to whatever your source is. And then demonstrate consideration for accessibility. So again, accessibility is alt tags on images, using heading levels, organizing your type, high contrast, black to white, high contrast type of deal. Your pages should be organized, attractive, and accessible. And again, awareness of audience reading pattern, attractive color combinations, text and backgrounds don't compete. Adequate use of white space. Too much white space can make it look unfinished. Too little or too much can be cluttered and it's competing. So I guess there's kind of a balance there. Remember your browser title. Remember those browser tabs. So title every page. And appropriate to the page. Appropriate use of font size, so the font itself, the size itself. Logical division of web pages, so try to, again, chunk it out, whether it's your topic or content, and then alt tags we already talked about. Cascading style sheets used on your navigation, your menu bar. Links are clearly labeled. Oftentimes it's kind of nice to have link states. We'll do that actually, so that's something we'll continue to work on and add, but remember kind of a mouse over or even an on-click state, so somebody knows where they're at, where they should go, where they've been, all that good stuff. Links to other pages that work. and they open in a new target window if they need to. Reasonable number of clicks to obtain my results. Alt tags again. Navigation words are clearly described so somebody knows when they click on something, they know what they're going to get and where they're going to go. Responsive design. Accessibility issues, again, we kind of mentioned those. If you think people will print it, maybe a printable version. So that will always be up and available. The web-ready Photoshop projects, so those, you don't need to upload those, by the way. So I think probably within maybe a day or so, we'll post our sites to the student server, which will be this 10-point project here. That's your index page. So you'll have something. It's basically posting your menu, your logo. There might be a picture, the footer content. There might be some of the box areas that you're going to fill in. So it's kind of your basic index skeleton. And then most likely, so one of your images will be the logo, and then you may have another image, like on our first box, we had an image of Bo running. You might have something different. And I mean, I'm guessing you have one more image somewhere. So you have to have basically 3 images. So that's 20 points for those. The starfish goes into next week, by the way, so, or this coming week here. We'll probably do that on Thursday. So we're working on our Dreamweaver sites index, cascading style sheets. You've already submitted your student server. This is reminders. You know what the web disclaimer is, and links to Missoula College UM and policies. And again, and the same thing is duplicated right here. So it's in 2 places. I added the additional, if you feel like you're using trademarked or copyrighted material under fair use guidelines, there's more there. And then posting to the student server is 20 points. And some of you may be ready to do that, so I do have instructions there. And basically, so the first page is just a little bit more again about the links, in case you need that again. There is more than 10 megabytes of space allowed now, so, but you can't have more than one. So if you have, I think we'll be okay with, if you're on a CSCI 105 and an MART, I think we'll be okay with that, but we'll find out. It used to be that that caused a problem, and we would have one index page, and then the index page would have links that would go to both your websites, so we had to kind of be creative about it. But we'll eventually, so we're going to set up our student server. In fact, we could do that today, all of us, using these instructions in Dreamweaver. And then once you're ready to go, then we've got all the server content defined and all that good stuff. So then we'd be ready to post. So that's really all we'll work on today. If you want to go ahead and go into Dreamweaver, and then we'll define our server. And I'll leave the content on screen so you'll be able to see both here in just a minute. Okay, so it's kind of skinny here. So should I wait a minute? Are you there or not quite? In Dreamweaver? Everybody in Dreamweaver? Okay, so let's go to site, and you probably set your sites up already. So go to manage sites this time, not new site. So site on the menu bar and then manage sites. Most likely you find your site. Oh, because yours, did Cole go to that computer and try to fix it? And I'll wait till I'll work with you to get caught up, but everybody else see their site so far? You can double click the site. So double clicking means that you're just editing, and what we've defined so far is the name. We are locating it on documents at this point, and in a folder you've identified, and that's here on the front little site area. The other thing I want to make sure that you have accurately set up is you're in advanced settings, local info, and then the default images folder, you want to make sure that you're in documents, so same folder, in documents, in your root, whatever that's called, mine's bow, and I think we all called ours assets as far as where the images are stored. And as long as yours looks, you know, similar to that, again, you're probably okay. If you did have to change your folder, then you'll want to say save, done, and go back. So we want to make sure that that's all saved. Then I'll go back, so I'm going to go back to Site, Manage Site. That's only if you had to update anything. Okay, so I'll go back again, and then this time we want to go to Servers. And Christy, were you able to, are you getting in there? Okay. So in Dreamweaver, no, so that's documents, and that's accurate. Let's go to advanced. Yep, you're good to go there. So you could just click on servers, which is perfect. So I don't think anybody has a server defined yet. Is that right? So we'll click on servers. And does anybody have anything set up? Okay, so we haven't been here yet. I'm assuming that you haven't. So there should be a small little plus sign. Okay, click on that one, and then the server, and basically I'm getting everything from that document that's up on the screen there. So the server is students. Remember how we type in students.mc. So it's that. Students with an S, .mc.umt.edu. So students, remember that S. Students.mc.umt.edu. The connect using port, there's a drop down on that. You want to choose the secure FTP, so SFTP. That should automatically change your port from 21 to 22. And then the same SFTP address, you can go ahead and click on, so highlight students, Control C, and I'm just going to Control V to put it in. So it's the same thing, both spots. And then my username, so it'd be yours, my, you know, AB123456, whatever yours is. And then whatever your password is. You can have it save it. I think once you...
If you click, unclick save, it'll delete it out of there.
Oh, okay.
So
it automatically saves it. Yeah. And before you click test, so let's go ahead and kind of keep going on the rest of this stuff. So it's your net ID, and then your password, whatever that is. And then the root directory is public_HTML. Public_HTML, and then you can do a /. And then when you click from root directory to web URL, it fills in public.html, but we don't want that. So we want to get rid of the public HTML part and put, I think it works without the tilde, but I've been putting the tilde. So the tilde is right under the escape key with your shift key. And it seems like we were able, it used to not work with that, but I think it works with, but I've still been putting it in. So your net ID, and then with a slash after it, /. And then you'll want to click test. So again, we have students.mc.umt.edu, SFTP, the same students, your username, your password, public_HTML with a /, and then when you click in web URL, we just need to replace the public part with your net ID. And then when you click, do you get a message? Mine might be, do you get a firewall? Okay. So I think you can just close that down. I think my password's wrong. I just typed. So anyway, if you get that, then I think click save and save all the way through. And it should say successfully connected to web server. That's a really good message. If you see that, that's a good message. That's exactly what you want to do. And what you'll see, so I'm not going to connect here, but eventually if you were to come back in here and go to servers, you'll see your server here. And then if you ever have issues, sometimes it becomes unconnected for whatever reason. And if you go back in there and just double click it to edit it and then click test again, it connects back up. It says successfully connected, and then you should be good to go. So as long as that worked out okay, then there's more. So that was this little image here. And you get the blocked thing. I think, again, just closing that down should be okay. Then you are on your, and I won't be able to see this on mine because I've not connected to it, but do you see, I don't know if that's really very big. Let me zoom that out a little bit. Okay, when you go to your files panel and you've got your, whatever your root image or root folder, does it look more like this one right here? So you've got the little connect thing, a refresh thing, up and down arrows. Okay, does it look like that? Okay, so to connect to the server, you want to be at the highest level of your folder, your whole site, which in my case would be Bow Designs, very top folder. And then I want to put, there's an up arrow, and I can put the whole thing, and it'll ask you, do you want to put the whole thing? And this can be done on campus or off campus. If you've got this at home and you're working at it, you can still do exactly, as long as you set your site up and do that whole thing, you can do it wherever you're at. So if you want to put the whole thing, go ahead and say, yep, I do. And it should copy, and then we'll go check and see if somebody was able to do that. Now, if I'm only working on my About Us file, so if I click on my About Us and then I click my up arrow to put it all, so it's only going to put the About Us file and anything that About Us depends on. It might be an image. It's probably the cascading style sheet. Anything, it might be an Adobe Web Edge font. It could be, you know, the connection. It could be whatever is updating, but it'll only be regarding About Us. So that's, I guess, the danger, is that you want to be sure, do I want to put the whole thing? Usually you do. And you want to do a file save all before you put the whole thing, because only what's last saved, you know, your open window, for example, if you've been working on that cascading style sheet and it has the asterisk, it's not going to save whatever you just did. So then to test the whole thing, so I can go to students and I want to go to current. I need to sign on. And I find my, did anybody put, Kendra, did you put?
Not yet.
No? No, no. You did? Okay. So Adrian puts stuff up there, so you should see maybe only your index page. I don't know how much you have done. If you've got more than that, you can click to the other pages. But if that's all you have, so then, you know, you can test it, and it looks like he's worked on, you know, his global size, tablet size, desktop size, the footer, and that can be smaller, by the way, and formatted in a way that it's a little more obscure. It has to be there, but you can format it so that it's that small type. Has to be legible, but, you know. So then you want to go to students. So go to students.mc.umt.edu, so just a browser, students with an s.mc.umt.edu, and then you'll have to sign on, you know, your...
Giving me a message saying, even though I just started signing on, saying I'm a non-NetID user.
Oh.
Valid NetID, not valid.
Yeah, I think you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there. Isn't that odd? So your machine is telling you it's not?
I'm trying to log on to Google. It's telling me I don't have Google. And it's just on it, I guess.
I'll come back and look. Anyway, so you did go to the server, so that's good. Yeah, so you just want to check and make sure that,
How do you get it so it shows up on there?
okay, so in Dreamweaver, and yours will actually look more like this because I didn't connect mine. But you want to go to your files panel, like mine is here. Make sure you're clicked at the highest level. So yours would be the name of your root folder.
Yeah.
And then do you see an up arrow? This little guy right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and click the up arrow and it should ask you if you want to put the entire site, and you can say I do.
Okay.
Yep, and then you can go to the student web server once you do that. You may need to refresh because if you were there.
It just showed up now.
Yep, so yeah. And then the other thing, so you know how you're used to looking at your local, so these are your local files here, and it says local files. And again, I don't have it here. This is the image that it'll look like, but and I should have mentioned this. So you may have Photoshop documents. So your assets, if you look at my assets here, I've got a PNG, a JPEG, 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 JPEG. So I've got all web-ready images. If you have a PSD, that's the Photoshop document, and we can do this all together. I can make sure I load one out here so that we can back it out. But you'll probably want to go to your remote server, and there's a server, so other view, you can click there, but there's that little drop down, and you should be able to click your remote server and see the list, and you can remove the PSD because that can't be placed on your website anyway. PSDs don't work online, so it's just taking up a lot of space is all it's doing. You want to keep your PSD. I would recommend that on your local folder. So here's my bow. In my documents, I may want to put my images, so there's, blending modes. If I wanted to put this blending modes out there, I wouldn't want to place it inside my assets yet because it's a PSD document. I'd want to put that maybe in a Photoshop folder, original images, I don't know, something that isn't going to be put out to the web folder. And you wouldn't want to put it inside your root because then it gets put out there too. So it needs to be separate from your root folder. Otherwise it just adds space. And again, your remote view, and to get rid of it, you find the file. So in your assets, you find the file and click on it, and then you can just press delete on your keyboard and it goes away. And again, we'll go back and we'll refresh that so that you can, we'll check that as we go because it's pretty easy to put files, they're accidentally in your folder and you're working and put them out there. So that's something that we'll just kind of keep checking on. Okay, any other questions with that? That's really kind of all I have today as far as the course itself. We'll continue, this week. We'll just continue working. And I would like you to try, so I know many of you have tried posting to the server already. I want to just make sure that you get there, you can get your work there and that we don't have issues. Your skeleton, none of my stuff showing up again, my main first box, which kind of tends to happen. I usually have to close it and then come back in for whatever reason. But if I think I went through this on, was it Thursday or Tuesday maybe? So if this was kind of my basic, I've got a couple of little words there, I've got an image. If I wanted all of my pages to look sort of kind of like this, and maybe even have some identifying text under them, and maybe have my little footer, whatever that is. So I find, there we go. I did a file save all. Bo came back. And then remember how we went in and added that date? That date should reflect an update too. Remember how we clicked update on save? So I just did a save and it updated it to November 12th. Anyway, if this were the look for all my pages, I might want to go File, Save As, and you can create templates in Dreamweaver, but for what we are doing now, this is kind of our template format. And again, I can click the other page or pages that I want, so I can go About Us. Yep, I want to overwrite About Us with this, and then it's the same thing. And then I can do the same thing with Save As. Maybe Contact should be exactly the same. Save, yep, I want to replace it. But then Contact, I'd want to change, you know, maybe I still want Welcome to my dog, but maybe I want a little picture of me there instead. I don't know. I mean, you can edit whatever you have. About Us might be another image or even maybe a different format. So I think you saw with Isabella's, she had something similar with that with a big cupcake, but then her other pages were totally different. So everybody's going to have a different look. But again, with all the boxes and such, I want you to have the tools to create them if you want to use them. And then you can copy and paste. So if you only want 2 boxes on all your other pages, you can either, you know, get rid of those or have save basically blank pages and copy and paste just the parts of the HTML that you need. So there's all sorts of ways to get information from one page to another. And then with About Us, so I'd want to make sure, so if this were my About Us page, so I'm on my About, I'd probably want to say in my title, About Bodog Design, Missoula, Montana. And maybe here I'd want to say Contact Bodog Design. So your title should reflect whatever content is on the page. And again, I'll do a File, Save All. So then you're just working, you know, you may still have more work on index. If you don't have much more work to do on index, then you continue on with your other ones. And the Adobe Edge, so that probably is on every single page. There it is right here. The link, so the script for the Adobe font that I'm using is on every, when I did the File, Save As. So if you're using, and you can use more than one, by the way. You don't have to limit yourself to just one. And it would add, so you would see script for those other ones that you add. Okay. Anything else you need me to go over? So I'll stop recording.